Regional procurement update.
Okay, so, regional procurement update. So I've been meeting with a group, there's been a group of select boards that have been meeting around Moultonborough area, Moultonborough, Putnamborough, Wolfboro, Sandwich, Tamworth, Meredith, and have been given, you know, they were very supportive of the electricity aggregation, and they're very supportive of all 5 of these areas that have been identified on the agenda of moving forward with regional procurement of these things. You know, these are activities that you know, the rates have changed on electricity, and now we estimate that we're saving our towns about $127,000 on electricity. We don't get paid for that work, though. That effort has to come out of our dues, discretionary funding dues. So I think it's a very smart investment for us to make, and a very smart way to use our dues to show the value of this organization. But it is an issue like the archiving where there's no special budget, no grant or anything that's going to pay us to do that work. So I did pass out a spreadsheet on catch basin cleaning, which we've been spending quite a bit of time collecting information on catch basin cleaning. It's been fairly, and we're missing a bunch of information, and it's fairly small dollars compared to some of the other aggregation that we've talked about. But one of the big benefits of catch basin cleaning is the whole water quality issue that currently a lot of towns don't have. You know, their catch basin cleaning program is to wait for a heavy rainstorm that'll flush them out, which and then there seems to be also some issues about what people do with the muck. There doesn't seem to be any standard way of taking that muck and putting it in a safe place that, you know, so all that unfiltered water is going into our water bodies. So I think there's some environmental benefits. The Transportation Committee has an interest in this area. So we might go forward with the catch basin cleaning project where we would basically just negotiate a regional contract, regional pricing, and then each town would contract on their own with the advantage of the regional pricing. That's a pretty good model versus one regional contract. With the HHW program, we have one regional contract. But it's, you know, there's a lot of advantage to just having regional pricing and individual contracts. So it's really just an update for you of this. This is basically what I'm seeing as my marching orders in terms of pursuing regional purchasing. And we have our hands full, and we need some additional. I need to staff up for it, and that staffing is going to have to be paid for out of our dues. So I have to be a little bit careful about what we can afford and what we can't afford. We did very well last year. So far this year, our financing is looking very good, and we should be able to absorb some of this extra work. But it's something to be aware of and to watch carefully. So for the next priorities, the electricity aggregation, we're planning on doing a June RFP this time because we think we can get better pricing if we send out the RFP in June. So that's coming right up. If we're going to send out the RFP in June, we really got to get working on that. And then the oil and propane is another potentially huge savings area that we need to, if we're going to do that, we need to, it's best to bid that out around June also. So I've got an intern, I think this summer, who's going to help me work on it. I think I have a senior corps volunteer like we've had in the past who might be able to help me work on it. And we can use some of our existing admin staff, and we might have to hire some additional staff. The school bus contract is a really interesting one, where at least 2 or 3 school districts that I've talked to only have one vendor doing school bus, and they're not necessarily happy with the vendor, and they're concerned about the viability of the vendor, at least in one case. Those are about, the Mountain Borough School District spends about $500,000 a year on school busing. So there could be a substantial savings if we were able to add some competition into the arena. And part of the way you can add competition is by having a larger contract to bid on. You know, maybe some of those, it doesn't attract many bids because it's a smaller contract. Maybe if you make it a bigger contract, there would be more bidders. And there'd be more competition, and price would be able to be driven down, is the theory there. Same thing with solid waste. There's not a lot of competition. There might be 1 or 2 or 3, if you're lucky, bidders on solid waste in the region that I've been told several times. So again, we might be able to do some joint contract, bid out several communities' contracts at the same time, which would attract more bidders and hopefully leverage a lower pricing.
I have a stupid question on busing.
Yeah.
Do the towns own the buses?
No.
So,
I mean, they can.
but, so that makes this a little different on these other things. The infrastructure's already there. You have your catch basements, you need to clean them, or you're using electricity, you just need to pay for it. Here, the contractor has to make a capital investment in the buses. So to jump from serving 1 town to find a contractor that would serve 10 towns, that's a pretty major capital investment for somebody to make, to provide all the buses. You'd have to buy the buses from these other companies, I presume, or something. So it's a little bit of a different, so how would that work?
I don't know. I mean, I think there might be busing companies that aren't currently in the market that would make additional investments for this region. I think one of the other complications on the busing issue is there's a shortage of bus drivers that I read about probably 6 months ago in the newspaper, the statewide. They're not hugely paying jobs with benefits and seasonal and other issues. So there's definitely shortage issues. So can we really affect positive change on the school busing issue? I don't know.
I think you can. West Columbia is going through a RFP currently for July 2018 implementation, and we're not getting any response to RFPs other than the vendor that we've got currently. And when we go ask them, they say, well, you're not big enough for us to bid on it, because to Bob's point, we gotta go out and buy buses, and the capitalization, isn't enough to make it warranted. So they said, if you could get 3 or 4 other communities along with you, school districts, then it would be worthwhile for them to go bid. Because there are plenty of vendors down in southern New Hampshire that want to come up here. They just cannot get a foot in the door because they can't get enough communities together.
Okay.
So I think if we, LRPC, could get enough communities together, 3 or 4, it would be some good competition.
So here's a question for you. So it seems like we've missed the RFP for this coming school,
Yes.
for 19.
Because it starts July 1st.
Right, so we've kind of missed that round.
Yep.
But so when would be the next wave or the next process that?
Well, it'd be July of 2019 would be the implementation. So you start
Around
negotiating
December, or?
in October, November of this
October,
year.
November, okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's good timing, and that maybe we'll throw electricity and propane
Right.
and oil.
I think it falls
by
right.
then.
You can stagger these things.
Yeah, well, we definitely need to stagger them.
Yeah.
So October, November timeframe.
I think sometimes in a case like this, the existing contractor becomes a subcontractor for the big
Also
bidder.
possible.
But under more management scrutiny that way, and with help from above if they want it.
Yeah, if they need like 3 more buses, they can be
Yeah,
hauled up.
share a reserve, better recruiting, better benefits for drivers, things like that.
So, so this is the situation, so, we're moving forward with this, it's gonna continue to grow as a part of the organization and continue to take up a larger share of our dues.
But I think we should look at some form of enumeration for those services.
I think, you know, it's,
Some point in
yeah, it would
time.
be good to do that, I mean, it's, you know, with the electricity, you know, you heard me say that already, that it's, you know, we've saved almost as much as we get in dues with that one program, so it would be good to find ways. I know, there are some other models where, you know, you pay like in order to be part of the bid, you pay like a bid fee
Yeah, right.
or something.
Percentage or something.
Yeah, something like that, where you pay, if you want to be part of our group RFP, you have to pay something to do that.
A nominal fee, okay, that if you get enough of them participating, it will make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
Doesn't hurt to get the program established
And that's what
first,
we're doing,
and it sells better.
And yeah, I think we're all of that opinion that you know, it'd be nice to have some income from this thing, but it's more important that we.
You gotta get it established.
But you know, a lot of people are talking about too that this is just a good exercise to get communities working together. That, you know, this is building regionalism, and you know, which is good for us, being a regional planning commission, to build that ethic. Because you know, some communities wonder, why am I part of a regional planning commission at all? I don't need anybody else. We're doing fine. Why do we need to be pay to be part of a region? So we need to answer that question.
At least with this.
Allocated some funding for looking at regionalizing its police and fire
I was going to
programs.
ask that, is how does the county government structure fit into this concept?
It's a good question. I mean, we recently, 3 regional planning commissions, North Country, Upper Valley, and myself met with the Grafton County commissioners because the Upper Valley director used to be a town manager and he had a good relationship with them, and we just wanted to go talk to them about ways that we could collaborate, and they were very interested in finding ways to work with the RPCs. Because they're really really trying to limit what they do to, you know, to just a few things, and they themselves could benefit from these group purchasing contracts. They have a bunch of stuff where they're overpaying because they're not a very large contract themselves, so they could benefit. Some of it's not uncommon for counties to pay dues to the Regional Planning Commission. In most other regions, the counties are paying dues to the Regional Planning Commission. We don't
Regions
have,
within New Hampshire?
yes,
Really?
yes. They're not big dues. I don't have the full survey of it. I know in North Country though, all 3 counties paid dues to the Regional Planning Commission. You know, we don't currently have any of our counties paying dues to the Lakes Region Commission, you know, and the thought of going to Belknap County right now is probably not,
Political suicide.
Well, it seems like, you know, I think all this is good, but in contrast to what we've done historically, providing services on an intermittent basis when asked for, and so, this is administrative function. You know, we'd end up administrating an area busing system or administrating whatever. And is that what we're supposed to be? Are we going to turn into an administrative, as opposed to, I always saw counties as an administrative organization. I don't know what they administrate, but are we going to become
Because we're bigger than the county. I mean, we're larger than the counties. The RPCs encompass multiple counties.
Yeah,
Um,
but it's,
I
the question I'm
think it's a
asking
very-
is one of function, or are we, should we be moving towards being an administrative organization as opposed to, it doesn't say in our charter, you know, you will administer public service programs. We don't administer public service programs.
It's certainly a question I've thought a lot about, and that's one of the reasons why I favor this idea of negotiating
a
pricing,
fee, yeah.
and then having individual contracts administered through the towns. You know,
Yeah.
instead of us administering one major regional contract like we do with the HHW, we administer one big regional contract. But I think you put your finger on it. I mean, there are other models of, you know, there's councils of government that are, you know, the regional planning commissions and councils of government where I think this is done, you know, more of a model of a council of government than an RPC, but sometimes I don't know what the difference is. So it is a question that goes really to our purpose and function and.
So
but at the
the
same-
increase in staff you need would be to pursue and negotiate these agreements, not to run the program, but once we had an agreement.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the initial getting, like, you know, I had, for the electricity, I had an intern working full-time, 40 hours a week for, you know, over 3 months, and I spent a good deal of my time working with her. So it took a big chunk of time
Right.
to get up and running.
But that's the first time.
Right.
After that, it should diminish and keep getting
Should.
shorter.
Once it's running, then you
Well,
don't need that
You
continuing.
don't need that extensive, but you need to be able to negotiate each year to get those contracts, to know who's going to sign up. The RFP gets out, gets returned, and then just administrate the contract and make sure the towns sign it.
I mean, our legislation was written over 50 years ago, and a lot of what we've done over the last 50 years has been growth management and you know, but that's in master plan development, and those services are being less demanded by our communities, and our communities are increasingly, it seems to me, asking what is the value of membership, and this is an answer, but notwithstanding the issue that you raised, Bob, so I think it's a
Fine line.
dynamic issue here that we're talking about, and we are talking about changing our focus and somewhat
I think we were talking about adding.
adding, enhancing, you know, depending on what your thoughts are, you know, all those words can apply.
Yeah. And if we're adding, then it gets back to, well, who's gonna pay for this?
Yeah, we need to look at some form of structured payment.
I'm just out of curiosity, when a survey like this, that we're reading about the different towns, who in a town is asked the question?
That's always the interesting thing, I mean,
Right.
because it is different.
Right,
It's
I'm
different
curious,
in
I see that we
every
said
town
no, but I'm
almost has
wondering who
somebody-
said no.
And it depends on what it is. I mean, for the electricity, you know, it was, in one town it would be one person, and another, you know, one town, or one school district, it would be the superintendent, the other one it would be the finance director, and in one town it would be, you know, a certain selectman, another one it would be a town manager, and another one it would be an admin and an executive assistant that worked for the town manager. It all depended, and that's where a lot of the time came in that, you know, it could be different for different contracts though. For electricity, you will need to talk to somebody. For propane, you might need to talk to somebody else. For catch basins, you might need to talk to the public works director. So it really depends on what it is, on who we need to talk to.
I have a question.
Yeah.
In something like that, is it reasonable to, maybe you did, so I'm not, maybe, but an explanation of the benefits of having this happen? like what are the
Oh, yeah.
benefits of doing this catch basin cleaning?
Yep.
And therefore, the effort to do a regional program and blah, 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 and negotiate prices and all that.
Right.
Is that explained carefully so that the person saying no knows it? Or is it just, oh, by the way, so-and-so, do you wanna do this, you know? And
I mean, with the catch basin, we're really at the preliminary stage of just gathering information, so I've done a little explanation of why we wanna be interested in catch basins,
But to whom?
but I haven't. I think,
I don't mean a name, but like in general, a committee meeting, you have that regional group meet? You have a.
that's been one of the ways that I've worked. Another way has been the TAC. The TAC group has a lot of public works directors in it. And then other times we just send emails out to the select board chair, maybe the planning board chair, maybe the public works director. We have
Okay.
all those contact lists.
All right, on the planning board, never saw this.
No, I don't think that we sent the catch basin to the planning board because I don't think.
It's not the same.
It wouldn't go to the planning
It
board.
wouldn't, I agree. In other words, it isn't over yet. In other words, towns can still add on if they
I
so
haven't.
choose.
We haven't started.
Yeah, we haven't started the catch basin. We haven't even fully determined we're gonna do the
Okay,
catch basin
right.
cleaning. And, because I was just asking, trying to figure out how many catch basins there are, how much towns currently pay, what their contracts look like.
Yeah.
That's all I've
Right,
been able to gather so far. And
Now
then
that I've
finding
seen this,
other
I'll-
things that might take priorities, like I have this oil and propane and the electricity,
Okay.
and maybe even the school busing, so.
There isn't a lot of savings in catch basin. Northfield pays about $3,000 a year to clean basins. And if you knock 10% off that, you're gonna be lucky, so we might save $300.
Yeah.
Not a
So,
lot of money.
I would, my personal feeling is that whichever of these efforts that you're talking about that's the most beneficial is what you focus on.
Yeah.
Like
Like
the electric
oil
is
and
great.
propane are big bucks, so.
Are you excluding natural gas?
Not necessarily, no,
Okay.
no.
Okay, let's go.
Okay. So I did want to save some time to talk about commission meeting schedule and the annual meeting,
Let's do that before we do roundtable.
okay?
Okay.
I think in your packet you do have a schedule, updated schedule. So we're required to have 6 meetings a year, and so if we have one in April, May, and June, we will have had our 6 meetings, so I'm thinking that proposing not to have one in March right now, or at least I haven't scheduled one in March. So the one in April would be April 23rd. It needs to be in the Ossipee area, sub-region, and looking at a Route 16 corridor study as the topic. There's also the Northern Border Regional Commission that covers, I'm trying to find issues that are specific to the sub-area, which, I'd like to do that more, because I think that's what the sub-area meetings were intended for. So provide a regional sharing update. The Northern Border Regional Commission is a grant program that's available to Grafton and Carroll County communities. So I'd give them an update. And then the Route 16 study, I think I talked to the board about DOT being interested in funding more corridor studies, and the governing council supporting that effort. So, and Executive Councilor Kenny would like to update the Route 16 corridor study. So I thought that would be a great topic for an Ossipee subregion. In May, the fourth Monday in May happens to be Memorial Day. So I wondered about changing that date. The location again is in the Franklin subregion, and I don't know if people are still interested in, when we did the Winnipesaukee River Basin Program meeting, the weather was bad and we weren't able to do a tour. They invited us back if we wanted to do it, so we could look at doing that. We've done a lot of brownfields work down in Franklin, so I thought that would be a very good topic. And then they also have this whitewater park where they've gotten an EDA grant to do a feasibility study on creating a whitewater rafting course through the middle of Franklin on the Winnipesaukee River. They would have to engineer that part of the river and take out some rocks and move things around and make it, but it would be the only place basically in the east where you could have competitive whitewater rafting competitions, and it would bring some vibrancy to the community, bring a lot of young people, make it more of a happening place. So Franklin's pretty excited about it. It's kind of an exciting concept, and I think it would be interesting to hear more about that.
I love the combination of the regional sewer, brownfields, and whitewater. I don't think about that's kind of funny.
Well, it would be a combination of some or all of those. I don't know how we could, I'm not sure we could do all three in one meeting, but I didn't know if anyone was chomping at the bit to tour around the different lagoons. If there wasn't, I didn't want to. I wanted to give everyone a second chance to do that if they wanted to.
So was it still that Monday? Did you change the day?
No, I think we should talk about changing the
Gotta
date.
change the date, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Probably should be the 21st.
21st would be the third Monday. And then, then we'd get into June and we have the annual meeting. The Monday after the 28th is June 4th, and we have our annual meeting on the 25th, so I think probably the 21st makes the most sense.
Yeah, good. Everybody okay with that?
May 21st.
We need to get the mayor back from Florida. We'll be all set.
Right.
The only drawback with that, that's a Guilford Planning Board meeting night, but
Okay, yeah. That would be, it's in the Ossipee sub-region, so you'd probably be especially excused for not going to that one, but I don't know, did you have any other suggestions, Bill?
no. That works.
Okay, so is that done?
Yep, that's
Okay.
done.
Croc TV.